Hello and welcome to the North Bank's instant reaction hybrid stroke Portsmouth preview kind of thing. I'm your host Holly. I'm joined by Chris. Hi Chris.
Hello.
So where are we? An hour after the final whistle has gone at the Emirates, bringing to an end a pretty, tough watch of a 0-0 draw with Liverpool. I've got thoughts on it. I'm sure you've got thoughts on it, but I think it's more important that we quickly jump to Stef, who was actually at the game and may have experienced a little bit of dampness in the process. Let's hear what Stef's got to say.
Hi Chris, hi Holly, how you doing? So the final whistle's just gone here, and as you can hear, they're about to announce our next game at home is Manchester United. Well, we've just played Liverpool, and although watching the game I felt like it was a poor Liverpool, it is a Liverpool that have been a bit more conservative and haven't lost in a while, and it was a game that played out like that. It was neither team did enough to win it. We didn't lose it. We're still 6 points clear. It's been a hell of a day because I left work and it took me about 3.5 hours to get here in the pouring rain. It rained most of the game. I'm absolutely soaking wet. The atmosphere was good, electric, and it's just a shame that our performance wasn't better and couldn't fuel that a little bit more. The first half was actually quite good. We swarmed them, we were on top of them, we pressed them, and we just didn't create any really clear-cut chances. So that was a bit disappointing. And then the second half was like a flip of the Bournemouth game. In the second half, we dropped off and Liverpool got the territory. And thankfully, they didn't create a huge amount of chances either. That's why I think cold like a day, it'll feel like a point gained more than a couple of points dropped. They're on a run that's unbeaten and we are too. So we just, we move. We got Portsmouth in the cup, rest a few players. Got Chelsea in a semi-final next week. It's still all good, and yeah, I'm sure we'll pick the bones on that a little bit more in the future. Take care, guys. See you later.
Well, I must say he's a lot more philosophical there than he was in some of his WhatsApp messages, which is good because I kind of share that slightly more philosophical, calmer response to it. I think. I don't know. What do you think of what he was saying about the 0-0 draw?
I think it's worth mentioning what he was saying in his messages to us privately, not in explicit sort of detail, but just the sense of we should be doing more and it's all on us. I kind of think there's a balance to be had here. I think, yes, we could have raised our game more. We could have been more intense in that second half, but I just feel like we've got to give credit to Liverpool for the second half. They didn't just sit back; they pinned us in for the majority of that second half, and we just had no answers. So I do think you have to kind of doff your cap sometimes, and I'm sure Mikel will acknowledge it as well. And sometimes you have to dig in and defend, even when you're at home and there's an expectation to push forward. You don't want to get caught out. They are individually, whether you think they've come together as a team yet. They're definitely showing signs of that, I think, in that second half. Again, I thought they played very well as a team. So my overall takeaway would be good point, as Stef mentioned as well, as I'm sure we will, in the cold light of day, appreciate that as a point gained.
Well, my usual midweek caveat is I didn't see the first half because I was tutoring, so based on that second half performance, we were completely dominated. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel at ease or relaxed in the slightest. So if I'm just looking at that game based on the second half, I'm absolutely thinking, we didn't lose. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. We didn't lose. It's as my mate Liam messaged me. Hi Liam, who flew over from Dublin to the game, to his season ticket. What a committed legend there. And he said, "We're another game closer to the title." And I like that as a kind of a takeaway from it, and also a very tough opponent out of the way. We don't have to face Liverpool again. City do.
They're going to take some points off of teams at the top for sure. I fancy they'll go on a bit of a run because I was very impressed with them. Like I said, second half.
Yeah, I must admit, watching it, I was grateful, and I think that we can. I don't know, looking upon it as it may be a sign that this might be our season, or it's pointing towards that, in that we've met Liverpool at a very good time without Isak, Salah and Ekitike, because if you added to their performance today just one of those three players, I think I'm not convinced we would have got out of that game with a clean sheet. I mean, having said that, if you look at the statistics, and this is an instant reaction, and I've been busy making a cup of tea and having a chat with people here, I haven't done an awful lot of research into the stats, but Liverpool officially technically didn't have a shot on target in the game. Now, I know they hit the crossbar, but that doesn't count as a shot on target. No. So we have, again, if you look at the statistics,
I'll
really
tell you briefly, then I'll just give you a rundown of the first half, given that you didn't see it. We were more in control. We had more freedom of the ball. Certainly on the right, Saka versus Kirkez, he was getting the beating of him. There was just that general sense of the home team being on top, and they were kind of absorbing us. That was a defensive error, that little lapse between, I think, Saliba and Raya where they hit the crossbar. Yeah, could have gone in, but as you say, not on target. And yeah, we weathered whatever they threw at us. It wasn't particularly sort of... I was feeling quite positive, actually, at half-time. I just thought a good basis from which to kind of, springboard into the second half.
Can I ask you, because I want to ask you about Gyökeres's performance, because it's a bit of a hot topic on our podcast, but in the wider Arsenal landscape as well, but also on our Patreon members. We're getting some... pretty strong views saying that, no, we shouldn't lower the bar as far as we're lowering it in terms of judging Gyökeres. How did he play in the first half? And I want to draw attention particularly to some of the crosses and cutbacks that were put in, and could he have done more to free himself from whatever close attention he had and create space and been on the end, or made a better chance to be on the end of some of them?
It's difficult because the once they'd set into their low block, when we had the ball, there wasn't much space in the penalty box. So I'm looking for second balls where there's like a ricochet and the ball drops to you. Can you position yourself better in anticipating those second balls, rather than, you're not going to make a run and be found as easily because they're so deep and it's so congested. That was the feeling for me. He is fairly static. So if you're not going to make it on the first ball that you're fed, at least be there and be more responsive to the second balls was my sense in there, and he wasn't anywhere near. He made one nice, cute little sort of cutback. Again, maybe I'm lowering the bar, but he had the ball and made a kind of... it was an unexpected pass where he sort of swiveled and passed it into the path of, I think, Saka running onto it. And that drew a kind of sense of like, oh, wow, he's done something positive. But I think we're so desperate to see him do anything positive at the moment that, yeah, maybe it's a sense of lowering the bar. But he wasn't terribly impressive, I'm afraid.
Quite a damning statistic is that's 0 shots on goal in 7 Premier League games.
Wow.
In his last 7 Premier League games, he hasn't registered a shot on goal. That's... must be on target, because he had 2 headers in one game, I remember. One of them was a pretty good effort as well. That must be... It must be on target. At that again. Yeah. It must be shots on... Even still, you want your number 9 to have a shot on target in 7 games. Really. I know I was following the Arsblog text, and he wasn't like uber critical of Gyökeres. He was just saying he wants more movement from him. That's all he was saying. That there was some... He was... I can't remember which opportunity it was. I haven't seen it, but Konate was closest to him, and Arsblog's observation was that when as it was Declan Rice, when Rice put a ball across, Gyökeres wasn't even moving.
Yep,
he was stood next to Konate, and is that a striker who's hiding? That's the first time I would kind of think that. I remember Ian Wright. God, he'd miss a chance. He'd miss a lot of time. He'd have nothing to do. He was always show for the ball. You knew he was always active, always like a live wire. It didn't matter how poor a game he was having. he never shied away. Bit like Saka now in the team. He doesn't shy away. Doesn't matter what kind of performance he's putting in. He will always show for the ball. He'll take that responsibility. And I just wonder you can understand it. It's confidence-wise.
Yeah.
And did Jesus do any more when he came on?
You saw. What did you think?
Well, I can't compare it because I didn't know what
he's more
Gyökeres
lively.
did.
He's more lively, and he knits the play together better. You know, he was coming slightly deeper and just being. Yeah, it's just more lively than Gyökeres. I think to your earlier point as well, when Rice or Saka in that first half were getting wide and putting those crosses in as they did a few times across the box, you know, he has to be busting a gut to get on to the end of those, and there you can criticise him. But there wasn't much room for sort of through balls, if you see what I mean.
Madueke put a fantastic ball across the 6-yard box. And Jesus was nowhere near it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was it. And Madueke was cross, and rightly so. It was a brilliant ball. And he'd got to the byline, and we had 3 players like 8-9 yards out. One of them needed just to take a chance. Have a run at the keeper, run across the keeper. You've got to tap in. That was frustrating.
I think it's part of a bigger conversation as well, is how much of it is them holding back in case the ball breaks to a Liverpool player, and you know they're obviously drilled to understand, you know, how quickly Liverpool can break and the danger that they pose. How much of that sort of reserved nature of all of them, not just say Jesus on the front line, but everyone, you know, that slight hesitancy are we seeing, or did we see in that second half?
And it might point to that, you know, okay, we're not playing well, or Liverpool are playing very well in their game plan, their way they've set up. Don't lose this game.
Yeah.
The longer the more minutes the more that the minutes ticks by, the greater the emphasis was on the don't lose this game, because and that's where City dropping points has benefited us. If City had won their previous 3 games, which I was convinced they would, away to Sunderland, home to Chelsea, weakened teams, managerless, home to Brighton, I'd be assuming City get 9 points from those 3 games. Well, they'd be 3 points ahead of us now. And so we could conceivably have entered this game this evening in second place. Mm-hmm. And then you're very much risking it to lose it, you know, risking losing it by chasing the win. Whereas we knew we didn't need to. It's as you were, a tough opponent out of the way, another game chalked off, and we've got a 6 point gap. There was one, what I just want to say about chances. The last kick or touch of the game, really. Did Jesus get in Gabby's way?
At the corner?
Yeah.
Don't know, it was a bit of a melee. By that time, I was just desperate for the game to end because I felt we were going to concede a last
It was
minute.
all, like, for me, it was a free header. The angle would have been tight if he'd got it in, but he didn't really make. But Jesus was like shoulder to shoulder with him. I'm glad it was Jesus and not Timber, because Timber's got in the way a couple of times recently, and I'm like, no, let your main attacker of a dead piece go for it. Okay, so what's your mood? How's your mood after the game and sitting 6 points clear? Like, factor that in as well.
Yeah, well, relief that we got the point, really, which feels a bit strange. It's a sort of, you know, mixed emotion, because I had high hopes that we would nick it. So happy with the point, and like you said, we're 6 points clear, and you would have taken that for sure. You know,
well, I'd have taken that at any point. I would have taken that at any point until the final whistle went at the Etihad yesterday. You know, it's only because they dropped points then I'm thinking, oh, well, 8 points is better than 6 points.
Yeah.
No. Let me rewind a little bit, because when I knew we were going to do this instant reaction, I talked about, you know, if Carlsberg did sets of results. And for those of you who are not aware, I don't know, was it the 90s, the Carlsberg adverts, or was it the noughties?
Yeah. Possibly even earlier, yeah.
even earlier. So it was like, Carlsberg produce the very best experiences, etc., etc. So last Sunday's set of results was a Carlsberg set of results for an Arsenal fan, of course. And then last night's set of results, I mean, in no particular order, Spurs lose to a 95th minute winner from Semenyo, lifelong Arsenal fan, who ironically City had wanted to stay for an extra game or two so he could do some damage to us, but didn't. But did it to Spurs. Notwithstanding the whole Thomas Frank Arsenal espresso coffee cup, which is just like, I mean, last night's complete meltdown it's a sackable offence. I'm like, it's brilliant. This is the most Spursy thing I've ever seen, and I was around long enough for Lasagna Gate and so on.
Yeah,
this is just a thing of beauty. And Semenyo with his last ever kick of a ball for Bournemouth, and that's great. Villa dropped 2 points, which is important because I looked at their set of results, fixtures coming up, and they've got some pretty, what you'd call, comparatively winnable games. And so dropping 2 points, I was thinking, well, this is probably their hardest game of the next 5 away to Palace. I thought, could do with them dropping points in this one, because I don't want them to do a Leicester. Chelsea go to Fulham and get their 7th red card of the season and lose 2-1, which is brilliant. United drop points at Burnley. I know that's not really got any significance for us, but as I've said before, I'm too long in the tooth to turn down the opportunity and too scarred to turn down the opportunity at United drop points. And then obviously City dropped 2 points at home to Brighton, having got a rather potentially fortuitous penalty, but missed like a whole raft of chances. I mean, Brighton missed a couple of sitters as well, but I mean, City should have been out of sight in that game. And again, because we were winning, that put them under a bit more pressure, perhaps. So it was like a perfect. I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. We've had a week where someone said the footballing gods have been replaced by Arsenal gods for the last 2 sets of fixtures. And so then I asked the question, I'm going to ask you this question. So when I was making my notes, I wrote that list down and I just followed it up with a little question. This is before, this is this afternoon sometime. The only question is, could we capitalise on all of this? Answer that question. Did we capitalise on it?
we sort of have, haven't we? In that we've got a 6-point lead.
We've not lost ground.
No. So we're kind of as you were. But yes, of course we would have wanted the win tonight. But sometimes you just have to take we didn't play great. Credit to the opposition. The point is a good point. So yeah. As
Szoboszlai pointed out in his interview during the week, they are the champions.
Yeah.
They won that league last season on merit at a canter. And from that team, they're only missing Salah.
Yeah, I think too many people are looking at when they had their little blip and thinking, oh, when that rolls around, that game comes around, we'll murder them because we're top of it. It doesn't work like that.
And as a kind of acknowledgement to your prediction, I was one of those people. I predicted a 3-1 win, and you said a nervy 1-0.
Yeah.
The majority of our members on Patreon who got involved predicted a 3-0 win.
Yeah,
I haven't gone back in there to see if they're licking their wounds or just like being philosophical. Thinking, well, do you know what? You got to play the game, and Liverpool did well. I mean, our XG for the game was 0.57. Theirs was 0.36. We had 9 shots. They had 8. We had 4 on target, but they were tame shots on target. There was no opportunity that I saw that we should have scored from. Maybe the Gabriel header at the end might have been almost the best opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah, because Jesus had a header just earlier and it was very tame.
Very tame, yeah.
And Martinelli's shot as well, I think.
Again, difficult. He did well to create this space from. Just on Martinelli, I think because if we were doing a proper in-depth post-match analysis, we would mention it. He's getting a lot of stick for pushing Conor Bradley off the pitch when Conor Bradley had clearly done quite a serious injury, and it is not a good look. I can only think the reason he did it is because Conor Bradley moved himself further onto the pitch.
Yep.
Implied maybe Martinelli didn't realise what he'd done to his ankle. It didn't look pretty, and so Martinelli maybe thought, he's just time wasting. But he had thrown the ball at him as well just before that.
Yeah. It didn't look good in retrospect, but I genuinely don't think he knew how injured he was.
Oh, and I suspect he will get in touch with Conor Bradley and apologise. I'm sure he will. I know you're fed up as an Arsenal fan, certainly in the last, say 10 years ago, hearing about players. Oh, he's not that kind of player. That, and it's like, but he's just snapped one of our players' legs into, so he is that kind of player. He's just done it. But Martinelli's not that. He doesn't get into. Does he get into fights? I'm not aware that he does.
No, I think it was just born out of frustration, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully that will blow over.
Yeah, I don't think anything retrospective can happen. He got a yellow card for it.
Oh, no.
And Konate got a yellow card for pushing him up. Gary Neville says that he's surprised Liverpool player didn't take a red card and just lamp him. Good professional.
Insightful pundit as ever.
Yeah, thanks, Gaza. Okay, anything else to say about?
No, I just think the thing that I'll pick up again on what Stef said in his kind of rants earlier was that we have to change the narrative of these big games. And I do think there is something in that where is the line between being, respecting the opposition's qualities and us imposing our game. And that is a really fine line. So I think that for me is the most sort of interesting takeaway from this.
Well, what would that look like in reality?
Well, it's some of it is in the head and in that having confidence. And I noticed when we weren't at our best today, the passes were slightly pulled. There was just a lack of intensity. I think it's one of the gauges of when a team is clicking is that they can fizz passes into each other and control it and use the pace on the ball. Whereas I wasn't seeing as much of that. There was a slight kind of hesitancy, and that is infectious. As we know, we've seen it before. So hopefully the reverse of that can be true too, in that we just take the game slightly more to the opposition, and whilst maintaining a respect for them. You
could argue that we did that in the first half based on what I read and what you said.
Yes. I thought the balance was much better in that, just lacking a finish.
Okay, right. Well, our next we'll have an opportunity because we've got Portsmouth in the Cup on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a second, and then we've got Chelsea away in the first leg of the semi-final, and then we've got Man United at home. So there's a couple of big games coming up which will test us and put that into practice. And Man United are going to have their AFCON players back by then, presumably, and their injured players have already come back, so they'll be at pretty much full strength, which is, I think, good for us because I don't want them to come and just sit low block 5-4, 4-5, whatever it is, 0, because we will clearly struggle against that. Portsmouth, 2:00 kickoff on Sunday. Stef is going to it if the game goes ahead. I don't know what kind of weather's forecast for the south coast this weekend, but there's plenty of snow kicking around. Just a few things on Portsmouth. They're 21st in the Championship. That's clearly their priority, but I did a little bit of reading up. They're 1 point above the relegation zone. They had been on a decent run of four games unbeaten, which had lifted them out of the relegation zone, but then they lost their last game 5-0 at Bristol City. Looking at that in a bit more detail, all 4 of their attacking players were injured for that game, so which might explain why they were quite toothless. Not sure why they conceded 5 goals, however. Their most recent game against Ipswich was postponed because of a frozen pitch, so they've not played for 10 days. By Sunday, it'll have been 10 days before they've played. None of the players who are missing are expected to come back, so they will be without 8 first-teamers. Whether they would have played in this game anyway, I'm not so sure, with their focus probably on Championship survival. So they're suffering a whole host of issues. Now, so we travel to Stamford Bridge on the Wednesday, so the game's coming thick and fast, and we host Man United on the Saturday. Oh, I don't know. What day are we playing Man United?
Sunday, I think.
Is it? Probably. Anyway, whatever. So, heavy rotation. So let me just read out Stef's team. Now, he submitted his predicted lineup before today's game, and Hincapié went off. So Stef's team, not knowing about what would happen in this evening's game, he said Kepa in goal, White at right back, Saliba, Hincapié and Lewis Skelly. So obviously he'll have to put in a replacement for Hincapié. So whether he'd go for Gabriel or another option. He said midfield 3 of Norgard and then Wanieri and Eze, and a front 3 of Madueke, Jesus and Martinelli. What's your...
Very similar. So Kepa, White, Saliba, Hincapié, MLS. Although I hope Hincapié is okay.
I think it was muscular, so I'm not convinced. He's been overplayed anyway. He needs a rest.
Well, then it would be Gabriel, I guess. Norgard, Eze, Marino in the midfield. Madueke, Jesus, Martinelli is what I've got. I did check we're forgetting, basically we're on a run of 4 away games in 4 different competitions coming up. There are people
Champions
screaming.
League, I've forgotten.
People are screaming at the podcast because we've jumped ahead a bit. Man United isn't until the end of the month, so we've got Forest away.
Oh my God!
Next week on the Saturday.
Oh, 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah, so it's the FA Cup, Portsmouth. And then followed by
Chelsea,
League Cup, then Forest in the league, then into Milan away. So 4 different competitions, 4 away games.
And then it's Man United.
See,
it's just because it's me and Man United. I don't see any. I don't see any other team now other than we're in the month of the Man United fixture. So that's all I can see. That whatever that shield is casting its great big shadow over me for the month of January. Yeah. So heavy rotation. So I've gone for Kepa in goal. Now, I had gone for White, Saliba, Lewis Skelly. Midfield, Norgard, Marino, Eze as well. And a front 3, Madueke, Jesus and Martinelli. And I came up with an alternative. So I didn't really want Gabriel to play because he's had his muscle injury. He's already missed a month or whatever. So I wonder, is it an opportunity, considering who the opposition is? And it's like no disrespect to them, but they are just fighting relegation out of the Championship. So, that's factual. Marley Salmon at right back or Josh Nichols at right back and Ben White pushing into play one of the centre-back positions. Saliba, really. But Norgard could play there. Do we have will he go a little bit stronger? No player that started tonight should start.
No.
On Sunday. However, Mosquera, Calafiori and Hincapié, they're 3 at the back that we will struggle to rest. No Havertz on the bench today. Again, I just heard that's managing his load. If he's not on the bench against Portsmouth, then there's bigger questions to ask, perhaps.
Minor setback, possibly.
Well, yeah.
And Ethan still nowhere to be seen.
Okay, well, on that, there's rumours that Bournemouth are looking to take him on loan, and that would make sense considering the players they've lost. And Patrick Kluivert's picked up Patrick Kluivert, his son, Patrick Kluivert's son, Justin has picked up an injury as well. So, Wanieri would probably slot in there quite easily. And I'd be okay with that, provided we had the capacity to recall him. I just think with our injury records, I don't want to be shorn of him completely. And just on the transfer, whilst we're here, we'll come back to the score predictions in a second. David Ornstein dropped a tweet earlier saying that we are actually very interested in Gueye. And, why he would come to us... I know he's got very good friends at Arsenal, and it would mean he wouldn't have to leave London because the other clubs that are obviously vying for his signature are Liverpool and Man City, which is where I think he'll end up. Because I also read this week that Semenyo, we'd agreed terms with Semenyo for the summer. That was a done deal. We said to him, look, it'll be the summer 26. We can't do anything before that, and you can see why possibly. Because, Trossard may well move on in the summer, maybe might say, but not now. So it would be too many cooks, perhaps. Although you can't have too many world-class players. I can hear Stef's voice in my ear saying that. But he's obviously opted for the now, the money, or perhaps, but the
Yeah.
now, like, not wanting to risk it. It might not happen in the summer, and he might, do you get more than one opportunity to join a Champions League club? He may think he can win something this season with Man City, and why not? So, but the Gay thing I thought was just a bit of kind of hot air. But when Ornstein is getting involved, then it's something. What do you think about Gay then?
I think we spoke about this earlier. I and I'm sure Arteta would like as many world-class players knocking around, and Stef, as possible, because we're like, naturally we're greedy. We want to have the best, pickings of players. But how do you keep them happy? Where does he fit in? I suppose you could argue Nketiah is seen more as a sort of left back exclusively. Then he's vying with Calafiori and MLS, and then you have Gahey and Gabriel as the kind of left centre half.
He can play right as well. He's two-footed, so he can play right or left.
Yeah, but still very much second to Saliba and Gabriel as a pairing.
You take a leaf out of Madueke's book and you say, well, no, I back myself. And I'm pleased that Arteta, 70, 75 minutes, he is hooking Saka and giving Madueke a run against tiring legs. And it could have paid off today. If someone had taken a gamble on Madueke's cross, he'd be looking at the assist that kind of won us the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever. I know January, I won't bleat on too much about the transfers. They'll happen. I suspect City, with their injury crisis at the moment, will just throw more money at it.
Exactly, yeah.
Score prediction. So Stef has gone for 3-1 Portsmouth. He hasn't. He's gone for 3-1 Arsenal.
Okay, I've gone 3-0 Arsenal.
And I haven't written a score prediction down, so what do I think? Yeah, 3-1, because who knows what kind of defence we'll have out there. I always have us conceding a goal. 3-1. And I've predicted 3-1 the last three games, which probably means we're going to lose because we won the first one, drew the second one. It's getting progressively worse.
Nah. Surely not.
No.
You were going to say something about Gyökeres in relation to Luis Diaz.
Oh yeah. Okay. So,
do you want to chuck that in now?
Yeah. And I read this interview that Luis Diaz did with somebody, I don't know where, a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the difference between the Premier League, obviously with Liverpool, and the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. He's had a very good half season with Bayern Munich, and they're 9 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga. And he just said that I cannot explain enough or be I can't think of the words.
Explicit enough?
Yeah, like, I can't emphasise this enough. You have so much more space in the Bundesliga than you do in the Premier League. You have so much more time. Like, I couldn't believe it. He said, you've got no time. And us watching it, we're not really we don't understand what that is necessarily. Like, we might play five-a-side on a Wednesday night and, half of us can barely run, break into anything more than a jog, or can be bothered to break into anything more than a jog. But the pace of the Premier League is obviously something that's cited by everybody who plays it, that it's really like frantic. Mm-hmm. And that's the Bundesliga. So, the Portuguese league is another level down from that again. And this is before tonight's performance. I just almost wanted to say that, let's give Gyökeres a bit of time to get up to speed, literally, with the Premier League. When someone like Luis Diaz is highlighting, like, it's a marked, profound difference. Because the Bundesliga is one of the top 5 leagues. The German clubs do really well in the Champions League, or Bayern Munich do. They're competitive. But yet he says that there's no comparison between the Bundesliga and the Premier League.
Yeah.
That it's the time, you just have no time in the Premier League at all. And Gyökeres is, struggling to adapt, perhaps.
Well, he is. It's a case of him finding his strengths for the Premier League. And look, he's never going to be a nimble little will-o'-the-wisp kind of ferret that Jesus is, for example.
No, but get yourself on the end of the cross that's put across the 6-yard box, you know?
Yeah. But you can, like I said earlier, he can do more in anticipating those crosses, but also just second balls, just being hungrier and more alive in the box. And I take your point that you said, I do feel he hides a little bit. Where it's, you just didn't find me kind of thing. And we've all done it.
I have not. Well, it's just like, it's 7 Premier League games without a shot on target. Yeah, great, you're occupying the defence. And look, he's part of a successful team at the moment. It's just maybe the first game in a while we haven't won. You start to look at the difference makers, right? Who's going to get that goal and turn this draw into a victory?
Well, he's under the spotlight, isn't he? People are looking at him far more.
Yeah, it didn't help that Sesko scored 2 goals yesterday.
And 2 good goals as well. Yeah.
Burnley are no Liverpool, or Liverpool are no Burnley, whichever way around you want to read that. But yeah. Okay, anything else? No,
I think we move on.
Okay, so this was an extended instant reaction. That's what I was for you, Trev. Stop moaning at me now. And we will be back again on Sunday evening. Stef is going to the Portsmouth game, weather permitting. Well, we'll be back on Sunday evening anyway for a podcast where we'll review the Portsmouth game, hopefully, and then we'll look ahead to the Chelsea semi-final on the Wednesday. In the meantime, if you are in this country or in kind of wintry conditions, do stay safe and keep warm. And if you're not, jammy sods. And we'll see you next time. Cheers. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.